21, I think. But I was always in love with Australia and the kind of the outside culture, the sun. Also, I also got to learn a lot about the traditions of the land. So yes, this is home now.
I love that. And you totally give off this warmth energy. Like I can feel, see, I'm in this sweater. So it's so cold in Minnesota right now. So we are
Mm.
representing the seasons, the summer and the winter, that duality, that polarity in our conversation. I see on your Instagram too, you talk a lot about how nature is really important and informs your work. Um, I guess let's start by when someone reaches out to you and they want to work with you, kind of where are they at in their lives? What do you find that they're looking for? Why are they drawn to you?
I feel like, especially in the society that we live today, there is so much disconnection from our emotions, from our body. So a lot of people come to me with this desire to almost like rediscover who they are and to
Mm,
really connect with the truth of who they are. A lot of people come like feeling like they are doing some sort of work and that means nothing in their lives and they want to change something, or that they are in a relationship that no longer satisfy their needs, but they still there because it's like a comfortable position for them to stay. So this work is really about coming inwards and looking inside and dropping in and really feeling what is it that I need right now? What is it that I want for my life? And who am I? So it's a little bit of that, but there's so much that we could unpack here because it's a very simple work, but also not always easy. I should say that.
that is for certain. I know that. That's one thing I say to my clients, like your life becomes more rich and more vibrant as you start to form this connection with your senses, with your heart, with your body. But does that make it always easier? Not really. But is that the goal, to always have things be easy? It does give you strength and fortitude and courage to be conscious. So when someone comes to you, they're kind of, what the picture I was feeling was that they're more like maybe stagnant or
Mhm.
stuck, or there's like this lack of color in their lives. Maybe they're going through a routine kind of because they've maybe been conditioned to go through the routine and they're just stuck going from A to B to C. And you bring back vibrancy into their lives. You bring back life. Is that kind of what
I
I'm feeling?
love how you describe that. That is
Okay.
so perfectly put into a picture because, yeah, it's almost like that space where we should be happy because we have everything we need, really. Like, let's say, oh, yes, we have the relationship, we have the car, we have the job title. But then inside, it's like, wait a second. I should be happy, but I'm actually not. So, what's going on here? And I felt this through my life as well. A lot of my work come from my personal experience, where I was in a relationship that it was so perfect from the outside view. It was like a gorgeous man that treated me really well. And I just felt like so disconnected because I couldn't speak my truth. And every time I did, I felt that it wasn't respected or honored. And then I started lying to myself as well. So there was this empty space inside of me. And through someone else's eyes would have been perfect.
Mhm.
But in my inner experience, it was so misaligned. So the intention is actually to start to look inside and realign those pieces so we can discover who we are, but also, um, yeah, find, as you said, those colors in life again.
I really sense so much feminine vibrancy coming off of you and emanating from your work. You're just like so beautiful. I'm very audio sensitive. A lot of who follows me, the majority are women demographically, and I tend to draw more of a high achieving, high performing demographic who has what you're talking about, these successes, these accolades, has almost been conditioned by society that our, you know, worth is outside of us, it's in what we produce. And it just sounds like what you're doing, and we're going to talk more about this, is bringing that consciousness back into body, bringing those colors back so that there's that radiance and magnetism, which truly most women, most people in female bodies have a naturally feminine essence. That's what feels the most satisfying. Like to be seen in vibrancy, to be seen in radiance, to be able to move the body. And it's not something that's really viewed as success in the everyday world, but it feels so, I mean, I say live deliciously. It feels delicious. It's like taking a bite of a juicy piece of fruit. It's like, yes, this is life. I'm living. And it sounds like you bring this back through embodiment. So I looked up the definition of embodiment, and it's to give body to give body, like physical body to something. So I'm curious, tell me what embodiment means to you and how you work with your clients on this or people.
Yeah, thank you for that question, because there are so many ways that people can find those answers from within, right? I believe there's so many paths out there, but something that really calls me is, how is my body talking to me all the time? And when I start to listen, so let's give an example here. If you look at people that are depressed, there's a high chance their shoulders roll more towards the front. They like have the gaze that is a little bit lower. Of course, we can see that it's almost like that gray color as well that is shared, but the body holds the information. And then when you look someone that is like really proud, normally there is this chest opening, there is this vibrancy, they are taller. So the body is constantly speaking to us. And embodiment to me is really listening to how the body is communicating to us, so we can start to work with it in order to get what we want to get from life. So let's say, for example, also emotions are held into the body. We all know that, because when we get stressed, what tends to happen? Like my shoulders get really, really tight, right? And then you go to a massage and you're like, I'm so relaxed right now. So these, in some ways, using the body as a tool to get to that relaxation. But this is a very simple example, because there are some things that are in the core of our being. So if I'm constantly stressed about work, getting a massage is not going to cut it, right? I need to look into deeper aspects of what is it in my work that is making me really stressed. But I can still listen to the clues of the body. Like sometimes if we're trying to make a decision, should I do this or should I not? I can close my eyes and I can actually feel my body. Well, how does it feel if I say yes to this? And then I'm like, it's light. My shoulders are kind of soft. I want to hop and just like be like super like skipping everywhere. Versus, if I say no, I feel this contraction. So then that's a clue there to how to make decisions better in life following this body. So that's some of the ways that we can work with embodiment as well.
So beautiful. Hello to all of you who are tuned in live. Hi, Amber. Can you please verify that our sound volume is equal and that you can hear us? At least somebody, just so that we know. It's the worst when you record a conversation and then you listen to the sound after and it's like unequal or something. So what I love about what you shared here is that you're listening to the body and forming like sensation words that are neutral around the body. So my shoulders are soft, or this feels light and fluffy. Like these are all just sensation words. And what I find when I work, that's one of those, our work is so similar, Lailla.
It really is.
It really is similar. I don't know that I found anyone who has such similar work. You're on the other side of the globe, but it's very interesting. So I find that when it's hard to drop down into the body for people who are not used to that. It can feel very elusive. So you can start just with the sensation word of, in this moment, how am I feeling right now? If you're tuning in, let's just sink into the body. What might you notice? And this will become more vibrant with time and with practice. But right now, I even notice I'm always holding my little one. So like my shoulders feel like this, like I have this pattern right now, and I can feel that residual in my body. So again, it's neutral. I just feel like that posture kind of, and I can feel my son in that. I can feel my hips on the seat. So we're just looking for sensation words for the body to tell us what it's feeling. Correct? Do you want to share a couple of things that you're feeling now? And then if those of you tuning in want to share some, you're welcome to.
I feel some tension in my jaw, and I know where this comes from. Feel some lightness on my chest, kind of like an open to receive and give. I feel my eyelids kind of like tingly almost, and I feel like that's because I had caffeine this morning, and sometimes it does that. And I feel the smile on my face, like opening. Yeah.
Beautiful. So someone who's stereotypically more stuck in their head, more logical, has maneuvered through life in an analytical way, at this point might start to roll their eyes and click off. Like, this isn't for me. This is what I find here. And one of my interests is in translating, like bridging this gap between what's the woo-woo, what's the earthy granola, and then how that can be applied into the quote unquote the everyday life, like the life in the office, things like this. So let's maybe spend a moment, and I don't like we're using the word convince, but to share with the analytical mind what might be the benefits of this. You had said to access the body for decision making. I agree, right? If you can access the gut and the heart for gut instinct, for intuition, that can be profound in everyday life for decision making. What are other ways and benefits of forming this connection with the body? What might we say to the mind?
I think the ability to respond other than react is a big one as well, because when we recognize that through signals in the body, we may recognize this is triggering for me. Like once we do the work of really listening, it becomes easier to recognize those times. And then instead of reacting and going like, rah, and just vomiting words onto someone, that can create a ripple effect of bad consequences in our lives, we can actually pause and ask for a moment. Hey, I'm going to take a moment right now. I'm going to remove myself from this. I'm going to ground, and then I can come back to this conversation, which can ripple effect in better situations in life.
Yes. So we have composure. We have access to intuition. We have composure. I'm going to add presence. Yeah. I find that when I'm in my body, I have this really, I don't know, this powerful presence versus if I'm in my mind, I'm almost lifted up and away from the earth. But when I'm rooted in my hips and in my feet and into the earth, I feel more stable, and I feel that other people respond to me in a different way. So we can add presence to that.
Yes. What about joy?
Joy.
Because that's the same thing, right? Like joy can only be experienced in the moment when we are actually in the moment. If we are somewhere else, the moment gets completely lost. So adding to the presence that you were speaking about, the joy comes with that.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
And I have this, I have this belief or this feeling that we're more than these bodies, right? That we're consciousness, that we're spirit. But I find that a lot of traditions or spiritual traditions are about transcending up and out of the body. And if you think about masculine, feminine polarity, I find that feminine energy is down and into the body. And that I found that some of my most spiritual moments have been in my body, like in and through. And if we are talking about animating feminine energy, animating feminine flow, it's about building that connection to the body. We have a sharing. My shoulder blades feel tight. My jaw feels tight and sore. Thank you for the sharing. I feel like I'm ready to release some old energies as I've went deeper into my body. Okay, here's another access point. Connecting into the body. So a lot of us carry stagnant, old energy, old pattern, old holdings that the nervous system hasn't been able to process. So accessing the body in that way, so this will bring us into movement, brings lightness. It helps clear. And in my experience, helps to showcase your most genuine self, which is your work. That is like the heart of your work, Lailla. So
I feel like it's the heart of our work, really.
yeah, totally. I think you're a bit more movement based than me. I use different modalities of movement. I think you do a little bit more freestyle. Let's talk about movement. Why is movement so important in this work? What have you found is the power there?
So in order to talk about movement, I need to first talk about emotions. Because as we were saying, we store emotions in the body. And when we start to store emotions in the body, maybe it's the jaw, anger, maybe it's the hands, anger as well, maybe sadness more to the center of the body. We start to accumulate a lot of I would say like rocks in the body, tiny little rocks. And then it gets to a point that the energy stops to flow. And that's when we lose our vibrancy because we have so many blocks, so many rocks in the body. Just visualize everybody now, the body filled with tiny little rocks, then nothing flows. And very often when nothing flows, disease comes in. It can be mental disease, it can be physical disease, it can be any of that. So movement is a way to start to cleanse those rocks out. So when we think, for example, if I'm feeling really angry and I'm just like keeping it all in, my body tenses up. One of the ways to release that is I like to actually use the three powerful ones, which is movement, breath, and sound. So how we can release this, like, and come back to the breath. Sorry, guys, if I got too loud on the other side.
You did it. That's good.
But really coming back to our primal instincts of releasing that. So how movement supports us is connecting with the primal instinct to release something that doesn't need to be in our body all the time with us. Anger is a very valid emotion. I do a lot of work with honoring all the emotions that we have and really like, thank you for being here because they are here to serve a purpose. But also once we get the message, we don't need to hold on to everything. If we do, we again start to become stagnant. We start to become too kind of like still when things don't flow through the body anymore. So that's one thing, but I really want to add one piece here, which is about looking into nature. When you see, let's say, an animal that is getting hunted by a lion, right? So the lion is like hunting the animal is running. And then finally, the animal just got too far from the lion. It's safe now. What's the first thing that the animal does?
Shakes, discharge.
It discharges.
Yeah.
So it's very natural. Us humans, we are also animals. We need to discharge the body in order to be back in our flow, in our juiciness, in our fluidity, that we're here to be in as well.
Yeah. I love. Can you speak to feminine energy in regards to embodiment and movement and how this polarity of masculine, feminine, like what the invitation is to express feminine energy through movement? Like,
Mm.
does that help to increase feminine energy? Does that help to amplify it? A lot of people who tune into my channel are interested in how to become more feminine.
Mm. So when we speak about the difference between the feminine and masculine, and I know you are very good on this, so please feel free to jump in anytime and then we can co-create some magic together.
Yes.
But masculine holds a lot more structure. So for example, when we go to a yoga practice, there is much more structure in those shapes. We go into warrior two, depending of the yoga class, of course. Some classes are more fluid. But we can say that, okay, holding traditional shapes is more like the masculine energy there of this structure. If we want to tap more into our feminine energy, feminine is about fluidity. It's about going with the flow and just much more like circular movements, much more softening the intuition, dropping down to our bodies. So we can introduce movement practices that are that of like, can I trust instead of moving my hand like this? Can I just give a moment for my hand to move however it wants to move? And again, we are inviting the energy of the feminine to come into the body. So of course there is that connection there. I would love to hear your thoughts on that because I know you are very much into the feminine energy as well. In the last podcast I heard with you, you were talking about it. So yes, give us some insights.
Well, you know what's funny about that is I started this channel about body connection. And I was talking a lot about how to connect to the body, soothe the nervous system, soften, create more flow and ease in life. And I started getting invited onto people's channels to talk about feminine energy. And I was like, oh, this is feminine expression. Literally what I'm doing, facilitating body connection, movement, trust, softening through yin practices, through breath, embodiment, the feminine essence. So I still struggle to think of myself as someone who can talk about feminine energy, but I always do so I feel that I have a naturally feminine essence. So I listen to content on it, but my main teachers are my own body and experience as a feminine essence person, and also watching nature. And those are the two feeling examples in nature, because Mother Nature, feminine energy is life expressed. And then the masculine is the witnessing of that life expressed at its core, right? So if you think
I
of this,
love that. I never heard about that before. I love how you said it. Yeah.
yeah. So when I think of movement and feminine energy as a dancer and a performer, me moving and expressing, I am expressing life. I'm expressing my body. And when I'm being witnessed by an audience, that's that masculine witnessing. They're witnessing life being expressed in body. And it's some of the most beautiful moments of my life. I love performing because of this, because I feel so feminine. When I was watching you share, I saw a lot of spirals in your hands as you were. So you went from like the linear, like the masculine having this linear movement to spirals. And that feels like the embodiment of waterfall energy, like waterfalls moving through rocks. Like it feels water, like when water moves in nature, it spirals naturally. So when I do all kinds of dancing throughout my life. I have, but right now I'm really into more styles of Latin dancing, and there's a lot of that spiral movement in the hips. So
What
there's
is it called? Dancing?
like different Latin
Spiral.
dances, salsa, bachata.
Oh.
So it's moving, it's feeling that in the hips, which feels very feminine to me, naturally, and also the act of leading and following. So I'm following the direction and the structure of the person who's leading me and having to soften into that, or not having to have the honor of softening into that and receiving that. So this is how movement shows up for me. But what I'm curious about, again, thinking of the person who's just tuning into this, who's never moved really like that, and they just feel awkward. They're like, I am not going to be doing this with my wrists and my head. And this looks great on you guys and you feel fine, but we both danced and moved for a lot of our lives.
Mm.
What would you say to that person who's who doesn't even know where to start, who just feels awkward. Like, what are they going to turn on a song at their house and start moving, or do they go get guidance? Like, what do you suggest to them?
That is a great way to start, by the way, just putting a song on and just like, and being alone in a space that they know nobody's gonna see them, and just notice when I dance, what is the judgment that I make of myself? Oh, this is awkward. This is, and just being that curiosity. So that's one thing, one great suggestion. The programs that I create, they are normally designed for those people. They're like, I have no idea where to start, because we create structure so we can flow. And how we do that is I teach a class where I'll go first, okay, first we're going to move the hands and just be curious and just actually notice what comes up for you. Because when we get quiet and really listen and tune into the body, we also start to notice all the things that we haven't noticed before. We notice the judgments that come up. We notice the emotions that come up, because everything else becomes like the outside world, and we have the experience of the inner world. So for some people that may be listening now, they're like, how are my hands gonna do anything? You know, I'm gonna move my hands and I'm gonna get insights about my life. You don't need to trust me. You can do it and try for yourself. The first time that I went to embodiment class, it was many years ago. And I just remember standing up and being in this big circle. It was live, like it was actually in person. And I was dancing and I was like, oh my God, this is so weird. I don't know what to do. And then I just noticed this desire to like look good. So I was trying to perform for other people. And I was like, wow, how do I actually do this in my everyday life? How often am I trying to perform to other people and not actually honoring what I want to do? And what is that? Because I don't even know. So it's really interesting that as soon as we set that commitment to move the body, and that could be through a class, I find that the online spaces are really supportive for people that have never tried this before, because they can actually do the class in their own home when nobody's watching.
Yes.
So when they start to do the class, the insights start to come. And having a guide, of course, it could be an embodiment teacher, it could be someone you found on the internet. It's often very helpful because it starts to direct you to how to get there, you know?
I love that you offer that. So for those of you who are tuning in, who are interested in just where to start, Lailla has a series. What's the course called?
It's actually, I have a community called the Embodied Life. And
Okay.
in there is the 30-day embodiment challenge. And we have like classes and you do it for 30 days. It's so easy because it only takes like 5 to 15 minutes a day. So it's like very easy to put it into your morning routine or when you get home. And yeah, and it's so good to start to connect with the body. So that's normally the first point that people come to. It's the embodiment challenge.
Mm-hmm. I
Mm.
love that you're offering that. That's incredible. I think too, I mean, it's interesting because even as a dancer, I've gone to dance classes my whole life. I have that feeling when I go into a dance class of anxiety of what are these people going to think of me? Am I going to be good enough? So to have the space, and that isn't every dance class, it depends on where I go, but I feel that too. So I think there's something that can be really beautiful for me that might be helpful to someone else who's listening to this about being in a room and also turning off the lights. So listening to an audio and to being able to feel your hands move without seeing them, or to feel your hips move without seeing them. That's been some of the most profound kind of movement for me when it's been done with my eyes closed, maybe. So it's a felt sense versus this is what this looks like. Even if no one's watching you, there's something for me that can feel, it's like a cozy blanket that's put over my body that can feel safe enough to start moving a bit.
Yes. Oh my God, I love that. To put all the lights off
Mm.
and just feel. I feel like you know those float things that it's very popular at the moment, at least here in Australia. There's a lot of things that you can just float in the salty water and be there. Feel like you are creating the next thing. It's
Mm.
like a dark room with
Yeah.
music on that people can just come and move.
Yes. I would
But
love that.
when you were saying that, I want to take a moment to also acknowledge that if you are someone that is very conscious about how you look and like, oh my God, I'm gonna dance, this is gonna be awkward, just know that this is most of us. Like
Yes.
most of us are actually really worried about how we're gonna look, you know, in front of people, because of course it's part of our instinct to be liked, so we
Mhm.
can belong to a tribe, so we can be respected, so we can survive, whatever it is. But yeah, it's very common, and it's amazing the results that we get after people start to really connect with their bodies and allow others to be seen as well.
Mhm.
Sorry, allow others to see them as well,
Mhm.
because that's a true sense of liberation. Like, I am allowed to be me, and oh my God, I can be seen as me. That's
Mhm.
a whole like
Yes.
ripple affecting everywhere in our lives,
Oh,
really. Did that
so
make sense? Or I
it
just
makes
got too
sense.
excited about that. So I'm like, yes.
It totally made sense. Um, I love how you ladies create a safe, energetic place. It helps me feel totally free and interested and vibrant. I'm so glad that you feel that. Thank you for sharing. That is all I could ever hope for, is creating an energetic space where you just, yeah, feel interested and vibrant. I mean, that's
Yeah.
beautiful. I want to talk about magnetism next. So, moving the body, connecting with the body creates magnetism. It just does. How and why? Do you want to speak to anything about that?
You know, it's so interesting. We're talking about the body. And when you said that, I got goosebumps. I'm like, oh, whew. I just noticed my body reacting to that, because magnetism to me is about confidence. It's a
Hmm.
lot about confidence, about I, in my personal experience, I'm only magnetic when I am being myself.
Yeah.
And if I'm hiding myself, there's layers and layers in front of me that stops me being magnetic because I'm hiding.
Yeah.
So when I start to remove these layers and show that to people, I become more magnetic because I'm comfortable in my skin. I'm sharing my light. Literally, I'm like, "Rah."
Yes.
So how movement steps into that and how embodiment steps into that is for me, because the embodiment practice and the movement practice gives so much insights to where we are hiding and the ways how we align to ourselves. And because and also all those little rocks that we talked about before, they are stopping our energy flow, and they are in front of or they are building that wall so nobody else is seeing us. So movement starts to cleanse those old emotions from the body, cleanse those old stagnant feelings, so we can discover who we are and connect more with ourselves. And then what you were talking about, like, you know, if you are moving in a room and you get really comfortable in showing up, showing who you are, then you can become more magnetic because people actually see you.
Yeah.
They don't see a wall, they see you.
Yeah.
And I believe that everybody carries a unique light.
Yes.
Everybody carries a strong, beautiful, powerful light. And some people are looking gray right now
Hmm.
because they are putting a lot of walls in front of that light. So the work here is to let's remove these walls. Let's remove it and let your unique, shiny light to be super bright, which it's naturally going to piss off some people, and that's okay because that's their work to do. But your work is to be in your light.
Hmm. And it's different. So the feminine way of creating life is to draw to it. Like the egg draws
Mm-hmm.
sperm. The sperm goes to the egg, right? These are just at its root, the more masculine, feminine ways of creating. The feminine draws in. The
Mm-hmm.
feminine radiates that light and draws things to that light.
Yeah.
Many people with feminine essence, a lot of women, are used to and conditioned by society to go get the thing. And then they have all this stuck energy, these rocks in their bodies, and then they're blocked up and they lose touch with that light or the vibrancy of what it could be. I was reading, I think it was David Data. I really love his work. Are you familiar with his work?
Oh, who is he?
He talks a lot about masculine, feminine polarity, but he gave an example of those with a feminine essence naturally. If you to like someone with a feminine essence and say like, you look horrible today, it would
Hmm.
kind of, it would really hurt because we like to be seen in our radiance. Whereas
Hmm.
someone with a more masculine essence would be like, yeah, I know. I barely got sleep. I was doing all this stuff last night. And I thought it was a really good example to identify kind of this essence that you have and how you want to be seen. So magnetism is allowing that radiance to shine through, and movement. I have this image of like a rug, like kind of like a dusty rug, and you just shake it off. And you just like go outside and you just shake this rug and it just becomes more alive in its colors. That's for some reason, I mean, we're not rugs, but like that's the imagery that I'm getting right now. Um, yeah, you connect to your heart, to your light, and then that draws in the things that you want. And what did I title this? Find is like, oh yeah, move into your feminine magnetism. And this is really the heart of what we're talking about. Move, move, shake, dance, pay attention to your body into your feminine radiance and find your flow. And we're hopefully offering ways that you all can do this. Amber says, yes, when I go to dance, I feel that too, like anxiety to dance a certain way or perform a certain way instead of allowing the music to flow throughout my body. I think a lot of us feel this. And
Yeah.
I don't know, how would you address this in spaces that you hold, Lailla?
I wish I could tell you there is a quick pill that you could take that is just going to fix all your problems.
Yeah.
But the most powerful thing that I know is to actually practice. So in the spaces that I hold, of course, what we're doing, it's practicing. I'm just holding a space for you to practice.
Mm,
What is it like to be in your body today? And the more comfortable that you get in that space of moving by yourself, maybe you start by yourself in your house, and you just listen to that song and you move, and then tomorrow you do it again, and then the day after you do it again, but not in a way that is like, I need to do this, in a way that I get to do this. I get to experience what it's like to move in my body. Some days I get to be a little bit weird and move in weird ways, and that's totally okay. So the more that you move, the more comfortable you get. And the more comfortable you get within yourself, you start to get with other people's too. So I have a cool story. One of my students from the 30-day embodiment challenge, she did the whole challenge, and the challenge is like do it in your own home. So at the end of the 30 days, she said, Lailla, I can't believe how this rippled in the rest of my life, because I was always someone that admire people for holding dinner parties.
mhm,
And I could never do that because I was always feeling really awkward with people.
mhm,
And after the 30-day challenge, I felt like I invited a bunch of people and held a dinner party for the first time in my life. And I'm almost crying as I was sharing this with you, because I felt so confident and so myself in my body. So that came with practice. That came
mm,
with 30 days moving and discovering who she is to actually show up in other spaces and be like, you know what? I know I'm pretty good. So not necessarily at dancing or at this or at that, but I'm comfortable in my own skin. And because I'm comfortable, it doesn't matter if I get the wrong move. It doesn't matter if my hips don't move exactly like someone else's hips, because I'm good enough.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, that confidence. I love that you connected confidence with magnetism. I think that's very important. This rootedness in self.
You
You,
know,
oh, go ahead.
yeah, I just to share here with you, because I think this is so fascinating. How I got to your YouTube video, I think that was like 2 years ago.
Mm.
It was because I was at the time doing a program called She's Magnetic. And it is a program about women that have been looking for a partner for a real long time. And they feel like the guys are just like ghosting them and escaping and just, not ready to commit. So the whole program was about how to enter your magnetism so you can be in that natural flow of becoming the egg that is vibrant and the sperms come to it. I
Mhm.
actually use the same analogy that you're using it right now.
That's
And yeah, so I came to you because I was like looking for some like business tips, and you explain everything I was explaining in relationship, but for work life and for success. And I was like, I cannot believe this. I've been teaching this to people, but now she's teaching me because I didn't know this could apply in other areas of my life. So that's kind of like the funny story that happened here.
that's so fascinating. I love synchronicities like this. And it's funny because I have used the example in energetic attraction, like for clients or business growth, or if you want something to happen, of sitting down at a date. And if you
Mhm.
are leaned forward and you're zoned in and you're like already thinking, oh, is this my person that I can spend the rest of my life with? And just kind of tight and narrowed in and like needing that person to be that in order to self-soothe, that is such a repelling energy. So I often give this example, whereas that leaned back, the openness, the curiosity, um, the not needing that other person, that thing, that entity, that client, whatever, to do any particular thing. That's really what's magnetic, because by proxy, if you're kind of open and leaning back, there's space to lean forward. There's space to attract into. So there's so many parallels. I'm not a dating coach and I don't have any content on dating or courses on dating, but it will often come up in my work with my clients, as there will be parallels. Now, I don't guide them into specifics around what to do at dates, but it can be a part of the work or a part of the container that's held, because it's all energy. It's all
Yes.
energy. It's all like your embodiment in one thing is typically how you are in the other thing. So it's just information too.
And
Um,
then when we think about all these different pieces,
mhm.
to me, it all comes back to confidence and feeling comfortable within your skin, right? Because the magnetism at work, like when you're talking about sitting with someone as if you are on a date, that you don't need that person, but it's actually being like, you know what? I know I'm pretty good.
Yeah.
So this person should want to work with me
Yeah.
because, and that person doesn't, it's probably because we are not a good fit for each other. And that's okay.
Okay.
Not everybody needs to like us.
Yes.
So,
Yes.
yeah.
I want to talk a bit about self-love. I just did a live stream with this amazing woman, Star, and she talked about treating yourself as a lover would.
Mm.
So adorning yourself, talking to yourself as a lover would talk to you, like becoming your own lover.
Mm.
What role do you see that playing in this work? Like, do you work with your clients to help amplify self-love, and how do you suggest that they do that? And where does it flirt with narcissism? And I know that you had a little video on that on Instagram that I thought was really interesting.
I would love to talk a little bit, just like open to talk a little bit about that, of self-love and narcissism is actually the complete opposite. And people think they are the extreme of self-love, but it's not. Because I only become a narcissist when I am so insecure about myself that I need to make everything about me because I'm so insecure about myself. When someone actually is very secure with themselves, they actually love themselves a lot, they want other people to shine
Yeah.
because they know that that shine is not going to dim their light, that is going to support them to grow also. So I just want to make this distinction here because so many people think narcissists are people that really love themselves. No, it's because they don't love themselves that they need all the attention. True self-love and confidence, when it happens, it's like that space that we want everybody to feel that. We want everybody to feel respected and loved because we know that contributes for us as a society, for us as an individual as well. So yeah, it's an important distinction, I think.
Mm-hmm. And I think too, like at the deepest level, at the truest level, I know that when I link into my heart, I feel a profound connection with all beings. So as I love myself, so do I love those around me. As I love those around me, so do I love myself. Like there's no separation at a certain state of being when you can like really feel that. It's like as I'm treating myself like the beloved, I'm also, if I'm a thread in the quilt, I'm loving the quilt too. Like it's all one thing. And as I do this act of service for you or offer this thing, it's really being given to me too, because we are just profoundly connected. Whereas I feel that in this, if I'm loving myself as above, like there's a hierarchy. And in that self-love, it is just one thing. It's no separation. It's we're all in this together. And that's how I feel too, that there might be a separation. But I love how you, because I think some people can feel nervous to love themselves if they think it's selfish. Like that I come, especially with women, like, oh, I'm being selfish. I'm giving to myself over, this other person. But it's not selfish.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
I like to say here that self-love is an act of service to everybody around you. So self-love is an act of service to everybody around you because let's say when you're not loving yourself, what really happens, right? Let's say you have kids and you're not loving yourself and you end up being the mom that is like resentful, maybe a little bit resentful towards your kids. Maybe you feel more angry than usual because you're not loving and honoring your boundaries. Maybe you're actually not modeling to your kids what self-love is. And please, I'm not a mother. I know I really honor the mothers and the parents, and I know it's a really, really hard job. I'm just giving you one example of how self-love actually nurtures everybody around us. So when I create healthy boundaries, that is showing that I love myself with my partner, with my work life, I'm actually modeling to other people what it is to be in that vibration. And when I model that, I'm supporting them to do the same. So yeah, self-love to me, it's really an act of service to everyone around me. With my partner, let's say, if I'm really exhausted and we were supposed to be going to like one of his friends' parties, And I say to him, look, babe, I'm actually really tired today. I'm gonna stay home because that's what I need. And maybe in the past there would be that concern, oh my God, but I'm being selfish and I'm not going to his friend's party or whatever it is. If I can say that, I'm gonna have a really nice time resting at home. I'm gonna be in a really good mood when he gets home. I'm gonna be like filled with love to give to him when he's home. If instead I shut my mouth and I'd be like, okay, let's go because he's your friend, yada yada, and try to please him, in the background, I'm gonna be like, oh my God, like this is so not good for me. And I'm gonna start to create this story and start to blame him. And then that's gonna come up sideways in, 2 hours later. So really honoring ourselves and practicing self-love is like everybody benefits from it. Everybody.
Mhm.
Do you have any examples in your life? I'd love to hear.
That was a good example. I think we should just, that was a really, really well laid out example. I think we just land on that. I mean, what you said about motherhood for sure. I, my son's 18 months old, so I'm a new mom, and I conceived at a time where I was already practicing a lot of nervous system care. So I know this stuff. And I do make it a point to go to yoga, to get massage, to take time that I need, to wake up early and journal, because I know that it's important, and I know that I'm more present with him. So I do practice these things. Now, has it changed since I've become a mother? Yes. Do I have as much time to do it? No, but I definitely make sure that I do it. And I do feel like I'm more present with him, more loving with him. I have more composure with him. I mean, he's entering into toddlerhood, so he's got a lot of big emotions and big feelings now, but I'm composed. When I take care of myself, I can help him regulate. And if I'm not, then he needs to borrow my brain sometimes. So my brain needs to be okay. So like it's very important that I take care of myself.
Yeah. And to add to that, I want to just say it's okay not to be perfect.
Oh yeah.
There will be times that, and I mean, especially as a mother, I imagine that would play a lot as well. If there's a whole week that you just can't go to yoga and can't get your massage, did you do the best you could,
Yeah.
with what you had at the moment? And just acknowledging that and being like, you know what, this week it was just impossible to do that. That's okay too. Like showing compassion towards ourselves when we can't do the thing is also an act of self-love. And it's also
Mhm.
really important. So instead of having that structure of, oh, in order to love myself, I need to go to yoga every day. And then one day I can't go to yoga.
Yeah.
And then I'm like, oh, you are a horrible person because you didn't do to yoga. No, that's not self-love. Okay, today didn't happen. I'm gonna love myself with what is, and it's the whole practice.
Oh, that's a good distinction that it's not about the external circumstances, it's about your decision to be in that state of consciousness, no matter the external circumstances. So no
Yes.
matter what I do or don't do, what I accomplish or what I don't accomplish, I choose to have unconditional love for myself as a being in this body. I think that's a really powerful thing to do. My love is not conditional. I'm not going to be hard on myself if I don't get this done by this time or go to this thing, or if I say no to this thing. My self-love is unconditional because
Mhm.
I am a sacred being that's connected to a web of other sacred beings, and we're magical and mysterious, and we're made up of love particles. So we just are, actually, we don't love ourselves, we just are love. I'll just leave it at that. We are love. Like we literally are embodied love at our,
Yeah.
I believe that.
Yeah.
Um, yes, so true. Self-love is an act of service to those around you. I love how you said that. Oh, so good. Does anyone have any questions? You feel free to type them in the chat. And I don't know, do you want to tell us a little bit about what you offer online? I know that you've shared your 30-day embodiment membership. You have that course still up about magnetism.
Yes, I'm just about to reopen the She is Magnetic course, and that's for women that are looking for relationships and want to create a life that is like of alignment with a partner that loves them and respects them, but they don't want to, do the dating tricks and like all this. For me, this is all bullshit because honestly, if I'm trying to be someone else in a date, that's already a red flag there. So the course is about really connecting with your essence,
Mm,
releasing old stories of not being good enough, and from that space to shine your light so you can attract your partner. So that's
beautiful.
the She's Magnetic program, which I will reopen in 2025. And the embodied life is the community where the embodiment challenges. So it's a 30-day embodiment challenge that is like perfect for someone that has a busy life because it's like 10 minutes of of practice a day, super easy to follow. So if someone is like, I want to connect with my body, but I really don't know how to start, and I do know I may have some emotions here that I don't know what to do with, yeah, the embodied life is a beautiful place to start. So I'd
Okay.
say those two. And of course, I work one-on-ones as well. So message me on Instagram is the best place. If you want to know a little bit more about that as well.
Awesome. And we'll include all those links below in the show notes. Thank you to everyone who's tuned in. Please do give this video a like. That really helps it to be seen in the digital world of algorithms. And feel free to subscribe to my channel, hit the bell. I usually always go live. So if you hit the bell, then you'll get notified when I go live and you can tune in the chat, ask questions. It's a really fun way to connect. Thank you so much, Lailla, for coming and sharing your wisdom with us, your energy, your light. You're such a joy. And I wish that we lived closer to each other because I think that we could go to a dance class or something.
I would love to go to some pole dancing with you. And thank you so much for inviting me here today. I am really glad we got to chat, and I'm looking forward to more conversations. I feel like we're going to have much more conversations about juicy deliciousness and how we can support each other to really continue to grow and expand our light in this world.
Amazing. Thank you.